Part 107. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1061. Chapter 1061, Breaking Up. Don't worry, boss, Miss Gong will always think that my father is very grateful to her when I leave today. The woman took the money, held the little boy's hand and left with a smile on her face. Son, let's go, mommy will take you to eat delicious food today. Nangong Luo saw the mother and son leaving, lowered his eyes and withdrew his gaze. This woman is indeed the daughter of the dead old man, but this woman has a grudge against Gongqin playing her own identity. When Nangong Luo found out the identity of their family and came to the door, the woman not only had no feeling when she heard about Gongqin affairs, she even thought that Gongqin was meddling in her own business. But at that time, he also found out clearly that the old man did die because of illness, not because of the psychological gap caused by the substitute, which made him die of depression, as Gu Jinsi said. But Nangong Luo didn't want anything to go wrong, so he bribed this woman to say good things in exchange for equal value. A little white lie can take away this huge amount of money, so the woman is naturally willing to cooperate. As for the little boy, in the world of children, black and white are very clear. He only knows that grandpa is very happy when he sees Gongqin, and he will regard Gongqin as a good person. The annoying trivial matter was finally solved, and Gongqin returned to the police station to work in a gloomy mood. She and Fang Yu are partners, and they do a lot of work at the same time, so they know a lot about each other. Because of the incident with his ex-girlfriend, Gongqin was a little interested in Fang Yu's feelings. One day, she unexpectedly discovered that Fang Yu and Zhongqing were still in contact. Gongqin found a suitable excuse to test Fang Yu. Fang Yu smiled mysteriously, but refused to say anything. Gongqin couldn't help but pay more attention to him, and accidentally discovered that it was Zhongyun who was in contact with Fang Yu. Gongqin couldn't help it anymore and asked Fang Yu directly, Fang Yu, have you reconciled with your girlfriend Zhongyun? Fang Yu has a good temper recently and greets everyone he sees with a smile. Facing Gongqin question, although he was happy, he couldn't hold it in completely. Qin, you are overthinking it. We have differences in status and we will not get back together for the time being. No matter how strange Gongqin stared at him, no matter what provocation Gongqin used to pry his mouth open, he refused to say anything. I have other things to do, Qin, please don't make random guesses. Fang Yu, I didn't mean to do anything, it's just that your girlfriend already has a boyfriend. If you are still separated, that would be too much, Gongqin said seriously. But Fang Yu was still in high spirits, so he heard Gongqin words but didn't remember them in his mind. Qin, don't think too much. Then how can you not think too much? It was about Nangong Luo, she couldn't help but care. But just when Gongqin was planning to take action, she heard another piece of news. Nangong Luo and Zhongyun broke up. At that time, when she received the call from Ye Wei and learned the news, she was still in disbelief. She confirmed it repeatedly and finally believed it 80%. Sure enough, there is indeed a problem. When Fang Yu fell in love, Zhongyun fell in love with Nangong Luo. When Fang Yu was happy, Zhongyun and Nangong Luo broke up. How can there be such a coincidence in the world? She could finally call Nangong Luo without any scruples, Luo, what's going on? Did you break up? Yes, we broke up. Because. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1062. Chapter 1062, If you lose, marry into my Nangong family, super sweet. The reason why Nangong Luo and Zhongyun announced their breakup was because Zhongyun was pregnant. The Nangong family and the Zhon family saw that they had been getting along well, so they wanted them to get married as soon as possible. But just the day before yesterday, Zhongyun told him, I'm pregnant. These 4 words made Nangong Luo stunned for a while, but the next reply was very simple and direct: "Congratulations." The two people agreed at that time that both parties would propose a peaceful breakup at the same time. Zhonyun's plan is to find a suitable time to confess her pregnancy to her family, and then her family will have to agree to her being with Fang Yu. What Zhonyun discussed with Fang Yu was, first terminate the cooperative relationship with Luo. After a while, when the child is more stable, I will tell the family. Fang Yu was very touched by Zhonyun's behavior. He was very lucky that he met someone who really liked him, so he secretly vowed in his heart that he would make the most effective results in the shortest time. Hence, Gong Qinli discovered that after Zhonyun and Nangang Luo announced their identities, Fang Yu was as excited about work as if he had been given a shot of blood. But Fang Yu never admitted that he and Zhonyun got back together, so others didn't know his true relationship with Zhonyun. It's just that after Zhonyun and Nangang Luo broke up, Gong Qinli felt that her mood was much better. She also brought some of Mr. Nangong's favorite light foods to visit the hospital, and sometimes play chess with Mr. Nangang. "I'm going here. I'll get off here." The old man and the young man had a great time fighting on the chessboard. Although Mr. Nangong's health is a little weak, his mind is very shrewd. "Lu Li, I really want to hear someone knocking on the door." "Huh?" Gong Qinli turned around and glanced back. When she said that there was no one, Mr. Nangang had already asked his handsome man to eat the word general from Gong Qinli. "General." Gong Qinli pointed at the chessboard in disbelief. "Grandpa, you are cheating." She clearly remembered that her chess pieces were not placed like that just now, but she didn't expect that Mr. Nangang would actually cheat in order to win her. She was so angry. Mr. Nangang was amused by Gong Qinli's performance. "Well, Grandpa, this is called winning by surprise, not cheating." "Grandpa, you have gone too far and bullied the younger generation. Please return my chess pieces, or I will cry to you." Okay, I'll give it back to you, just give it back to you." If Mr. Nangang had grown a beard, Gong Qinli could even imagine him blowing his beard and staring. These two people are more like relatives than relatives. Everyone in the Nangang family knows that Gong Qinli has a very good relationship with Mr. Nangang. Some people are even thinking that since the Gong family has rejected the Gu family and the Nangang family has no relationship with the Zhon family, is it possible for Nangang Luo and Gong Qinli to become a couple? On this day, when Mr. Nangang was playing chess with Gong Qinli, he suddenly said, "Girl Li Yulai, how about we have a gamble in this game?" "Okay, what does Grandpa want to bet on?" "You win, you can make whatever demands you want. You lose." "What if I lose?" "If you lose, you might as well marry into my Nangang family and become my granddaughter-in-law." "Ha." Mr. Nangang laughed as he said it. Gong Qinli lowered her eyes and straightened the chess pieces one by one. Mr. Nangang has been observing her expression. Originally I thought Gong Qinli was declining. The moment the chess pieces were placed, she suddenly heard her reply, "Okay." Lu Li's last sentence is the answer I have been waiting for. Do you want to praise Chinese Valentine's Day? Let Kixi take a look at your recommendation votes, comments, and rewards. Do you support Li Yulai and Luo La? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1063. Chapter 1063. I paid the price last night. Mr. Nangang wondered if he had heard wrongly. He asked Gong Qinli to be his granddaughter-in-law. Gong Qinli agreed. "Grandpa, the chess pieces are laid out, it's your turn to play." Gong Qinli smiled at Yan Yan. Mr. Nangang was so happy that his hands were shaking even when playing chess. Even though Gong Qinli is a young girl, she is very good at chess. Even Mr. Nangang, who is known as the invincible player, occasionally loses to her. Elder brother. Brother Chen. Ye Wei stood next to Yezikin, sometimes touching his hair, sometimes pinching his ears, and sometimes touching his handsome face. Yezikin let her do little things around him, until Ye Wei put his hands on his hips and yelled angrily, "Husband!" Huh! Yezikin moved his chair to one side and moved back slightly. He stretched out his hand naturally, and Ye Wei followed his movement and sat sideways on his lap. Hooking his neck, Ye Wei deliberately asked, "Isn't it heavy?" Yezikin curled his lips and said, "It's very light. You clearly promised to take me out last night, so you can't go back on your word. I thought you would forget." "What a beautiful thought, how could I forget it? If you don't take me out, you won't be able to do anything seriously." She scratched Yezikin's neck with her fingers. Yezikin fixed her uneasy parting spirit and smiled meaningfully, "It's not impossible to take you out. Let's see how sincere you are." I looked at this person who was trying to cheat in disbelief. "I paid the price last night." "Last night? It's so hot." Although he cannot be in the same room with him, it is still a restricted level of intimate contact. When thinking of those scenes, I felt his face getting hot. Seeing his sweet wife blushing, Yezikin stopped trying to tease her and kissed her. "Okay, honey, the car has been prepared by the housekeeper. I will never break my promise to you." Yet, Ye Wei has been locked up for a long time. Although he is willing to do so, he misses the excitement outside. Now he wants to go out, like a bird flying out of its cage. Before leaving, he suddenly remembered the things he left behind. "By the way, Li Yuli's things were left behind last time, so I could just bring them over to her." Speaking of Gongkin Li, the chess game over there is not over yet. Mr. Nangong was distracted by thinking about his grandson's wife and accidentally made the wrong move. This was an obvious move to give his own piece to the other party. Mr. Nangong hurriedly grabbed him and left again. "Wait a minute, I went to the wrong place." Gongkin Li stopped him with a smile. "Grandpa, you will have no regrets." Hearing Gongkin Li's firm and fair tone, Mr. Nangong suddenly didn't understand. Did she agree on purpose, but actually worked hard to win? According to Gongkin Li's ability, if Mr. Nangong made such an obvious mistake, she would definitely win. Ye Wei happened to call Gongkin Li at this time. Gongkin Li honestly said, "I'm playing chess." "Hey, did I bother you?" "No, there are still 3 steps to go." While talking on the phone with Ye Wei, Gongkin Li calmly made a move. Mr. Nangong was sitting on the other side, feeling so hurt in his heart. "Grandson, Grandpa is sorry for you and can't help you win your grandson's wife back home." But on the penultimate move, Gongkin Li suddenly moved the move in front of her check. Mr. Nangong's eyes widened in surprise. "Girl Li Yuli, are you sure where this step is going?" "Yes, Grandpa." "General." "Grandpa, you win. You lose on purpose, can you see that? Ha ha ha." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1064. Chapter 1064. Grandpa will definitely meet his great-grandson. Mr. Nangong laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha, Li Yuli girl, you will be my grandson-in-law of the Nangong family from now on." Nangong Luo, who had just come to visit him, suddenly stopped when he heard these words while walking at the door. Gongkin Li lowered her eyes. Under her long eyelashes, her beautiful eyes were full of smiles. She didn't know why she had just agreed to Mr. Nangong's tentative bet, but now that she had agreed, some things in her heart seemed to make sense. However, this is just the beginning. "Grandpa, I'm going to find Yuyi to get something, so I'm leaving first." Okay, go ahead. Then our agreement is a secret." Of course Mr. Nangong is old, but he is not confused yet. Gongkin Li deliberately lost to him. Of course he would not announce the bet to the public. As long as he knew that this girl had intentions, it was a matter for young people. After Gongkin Li left, Nangong Luo came in from the other direction. Mr. Nangong pushed up his reading glasses and asked, "Why didn't you come in just now?" Nangong Luo explained, "Suddenly something was delayed." Mr. Nangong shook his head helplessly, "You are still lying to me. You are clearly hiding from Li Yulai girl." Nangong Luo cannot deny it. Thinking of the words he heard at the door just now, he deliberately mentioned it in Mr. Nangong's ear, "Grandpa, don't joke with Li Yulai anymore. It will put a psychological burden on him." "Tisk, you are really not like my grandson, who shrinks back after failing to express his love. You deserve to be single." Mr. Nangong still dislikes his grandson as much as before. "At first I disliked him for not being motivated enough, now I dislike him for not being able to woo his wife." Nangong Luo heard Mr. Nangong's words and no longer deliberately opposed him as before, because he had matured and deeply understood that Mr. Nangong had high hopes for his grandson and loved him extremely. "Grandpa, don't worry, I remember everything you said. Just remember, try harder this time, don't let the wife you got run away again." Mr. Nangong meant something. And he sighed a few words smoothly, "Grandpas are all buried half-body. If you don't make some effort, I won't be able to see my great-grandson. Grandpa, don't worry, you will live a long life, and your great-grandson will definitely be with you." Whether this sentence is true or false, he can only comfort the old man's heart by saying it at this time. Gong Qinli went to Yewei to get something. She saw with her own eyes that Yezikin took good care of Yewei and ate a full bag of dog food. Gong Qinli pretended to be angry, "I know, you didn't come to give me anything at all, but you asked me to come out to watch you show your affection." Ye Wei touched her head as if to coax her, "Don't be upset with me. When I called you just now, right now, someone is missing a beautiful woman. If you work harder, you might be even better than me." "Who is the person you are talking about?" "Whoever you are thinking about at the moment is who you are. When you called just now, Grandpa Nangong and I were playing chess, and I even agreed to a bet with him." "Yes, from your tone, it seems that you lost to Grandpa Nangong on purpose." At this mention, Ye Wei remembered. She blinked and asked, "Then what is your bet with Grandpa Nangong?" "Grandpa said, if he wins, I can ask for whatever he wants. If he loses, I have to be his grandson-in-law." "You mean?" One day, she seemed to know some terrible secret. "Is Chinese Valentine's Day interesting enough? I read before that some readers said that Li Yulai was jealous even after she refused. Kixi would like to explain that everyone has different personalities and this is normal. Just imagine, someone you have always considered a good friend suddenly confesses to you, and you happily agree? Do I have to be confused and confused for a while? Li Yulai is like this." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1065. Chapter 1065 Sweet Date. From then on, Gong Qinli would go to the hospital to visit Mr. Nangong every day after get off work, and deliberately delayed her stay. Mr. Nangong was also silently helping his grandson, so he said, "Li Yulai girl comes to see me every day, and she is still hungry. You take her out to eat something good today. Isn't it a good time for two people to have dinner together to enhance their relationship?" Old man Nangong spoke, so naturally Nangong Luo had no choice but to refuse. He immediately looked at Gong Qinli and asked, "Li Yulai, would you like to choose a place?" Gong Qinli stood up and said, "I know a good place and I will take you there." "Good." The two of them waved to Mr. Nangong. Gong Qinli walked behind and stretched her right hand behind her back to make an okay gesture to Mr. Nangong. The old man and the young man can be said to be quite cooperative. Mr. Nangong watched the young couple leave with a smile on his face. He sat upright and slowly leaned toward the bed, gradually closing his eyes. But he still couldn't bear it. He covered his mouth and coughed a few times. His face was covered with wrinkles from the years. Nangong Luo and Gongkinli walked side by side. Gongkinli raised the topic, Luo, have you been to the Nanmen Bridge? I've been very busy and it's been a long time. The place I mentioned is right over the Nanmen Bridge. It was the only one introduced to me last time I tried it and it was delicious. You are such a picky person that you can say it's delicious. It seems I'm in for a treat tonight. Then I won't take you with me. Seeing her natural reaction and hearing the long-lost conversation pattern, Nangong Luo couldn't help laughing. Just now you vowed in front of Grandpa that you would take me to eat delicious food. Now you want to go back on your word? It's too late. Luan Luo, what can you do to me? Gu Chensi, who had just received the case, came out of the room and saw two familiar figures disappearing from his eyes. Dr. Gu, who has always been cold and cold, has a burning gaze. Dr. Gu, Nangong Yao, a patient in the emergency room, rings the bell. Go over and have a look. Gongkinli looked for a place, and Nangong Luo paid for the treat. While waiting, Gongkinli secretly took a photo of Nangong Luo and sent it to Ye Weiwei, smiling happily while holding her phone. Nangong Luo wanted to ask, but when the words reached his lips, he held them back. Thinking of Mr. Nangong's meaningful words, his heart was ready to move, but when he thought of Gongkinli being estranged for so long because of his confession, he now had no hesitation in returning to the previous feeling, but as a friend. Nangong Luo is also helpless. He is a grown man and has never been so timid since he was a child. Only when you meet someone you like, you will be afraid that your words and deeds will have counterproductive results. You're treating me to a treat today, be ready to swipe your card, I'm going to eat a lot. You accompany Grandpa every day and make him laugh. I should have thanked you a long time ago. No, you are all very busy. Anyway, I haven't started working on night duty yet. Come over when you have time. I fight with my grandpa on the chessboard every day. It's fun. Grandpa always praises you for your superb chess skills. Mr. Nangong is proficient in all kinds of chess, but chess is his favorite. Among the chess games that Gongkinli has learned, chess is the most powerful. Gongkinli was very proud. That's not true. In order to make Grandpa happy, I lost several times on purpose. Grandpa actually doesn't care about winning or losing. No, I made a bet with my grandfather before, and he really wanted to beat me. Do you want to know what the bet is? Nangong Luo, think. Of course. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1066. Chapter 1066. Miss him, miss him, miss him. What is the bet between you and Grandpa? You guess. Nangong Luo stared at Gongkinli's eyes. Those smart eyes he usually looked at seemed to be full of seductive charm at this moment. I don't have the ability to read minds, so I can't guess. Well. When Gongkinli was thinking about speaking, the waiter presented the food. The aroma of delicious food is a great temptation for a hungry person. She picked up the express and poked the bowl, lowered her head and smiled, I'll let you know after I finish the meal. At this moment, the atmosphere between the two of them was a little more ambiguous. If things can develop smoothly, maybe they won't take so many detours in the future. But, God likes to play tricks on people sometimes. Even before finishing this delicious meal, a call from the hospital summoned the two of them back. It is most likely to get sick when the seasons change. A sudden cold can make the body of a frail old man unable to bear the burden and make him ill. The Nangong family members took turns guarding the hospital. Gongkinli wanted to accompany her, and the police station had already started to arrange night shifts for her. Sicknesses come like a mountain, and it takes a week or two for ordinary people to recover from a cold, let alone the elderly with poor health. Just when Mr. Nangong fell, the people in the group were shaken. Although Nangong Lugo has made no mistakes since taking office, he has not made any impressive achievements. In order to suppress the situation, Nangong Lugo must do something. There is a business in Hong Kong that needs you to negotiate in person. Mom, Grandpa's health is not good yet. I want to stay by his side. I know what you are thinking, but you are the only son of the Nangong family. You have to shoulder the Nangong family's career and responsibilities. The current glory of the Nangong family is the result of your grandfather's lifelong efforts. As a man, you should stay rational. Nangong Lugo has deep feelings for Mr. Nangong, but he also clearly realizes that Mrs. Nangong's words cannot be refuted. Mom, I know what to do. Even if you feel heavy in your heart, you still need to keep your spirits up and act cautiously externally. Nangong Lugo went to Hong Kong to discuss business and would have video calls with the hospital every day. When Gong Kin Li was in the hospital, she happened to meet Nangong Lugo when she connected with the video. She found that the man in the video seemed to have lost a lot of weight. Lugo, are you abusing yourself over there? You're so ugly. Gong Kin Li pretended to be relaxed, with concern in her teasing tone. Nangong Lugo smiled knowingly when he saw her, and his tense expression seemed to be relieved. This is not abuse, this is weight loss. Lose weight. You're so concerned about your image when you go on a business trip. Did you meet some beautiful woman, huh? Yes, I met a beautiful woman and she said she likes skinny men. I am trying to lose weight for her. You bastard. After a few entertaining remarks, Gong Kin Li did not forget to tell him about Mr. Nangong's current situation. The two of them kept hanging up the video until someone asked Nangong Lugo to hang up. Gong Kin Li suddenly felt a little nostalgic when she thought of the thin face of video director Nangong Lugo. Lu Li girl, do you miss him? Grandfather? I don't know. When Mr. Nangong woke up. Mr. Nangong sighed, I miss him too. My own biological grandson. Hearing the old man's words of longing, it felt like he had gone through the vicissitudes of life. Gong Kin Li, who had always been strong, suddenly felt like crying. Grandpa, I'll see him for you. Actually, she wanted to see him. Bitter yet sweet, sweet. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1067. Chapter 1067 Nangong Lugo's Desire. Hong Kong. The lively and grand place is extremely luxurious. This place represents power, status, and wealth. It seems to be a place of enjoyment, but in fact it also contains boundless loneliness. Mr. Nangong, I have visited the thatched cottage 3 times before you are willing to give me this face and agree to the invitation. Mr. Charles, I have only been in Hong Kong for a few days. I am very busy with work and I really can't get away. They exchanged a few polite words and raised glasses of wine together. Hong Kong is one of the most prosperous cosmopolitan cities in the world. Nangong Lugo came to Hong Kong to win over partners, but it needs to be understood that only when interests are relatively generated will the cooperation between the two parties be happy, so when he took the initiative to find partners, the partners also took the initiative to find him. They are an independent private room, but it is as wide as a small bar, with dynamic music and exciting dance, and the bartender is showing off his unusual bartending skills. Mr. Charles seems to be a frequent visitor to this kind of place. There are 6 women standing around him within 1 meter. On the other hand, Nangong Lugo also had 2 women beside him. Except when he was pouring wine, they were always half a foot away from each other. Mr. Nangong, do you think the beauty of these women is not to your liking? I will hire someone to replace them immediately. Don't blame me for my personal misophobia. This luxuriant place is full of temptations. Mr. Nangong turns out to be such a clean and self-sufficient person. Nangong Lugo raised his glass and smiled. If a person wants to win in the shopping mall, he must be as cunning as a fox in his heart. Chao provided real information to prove his company's ability, and Nangong Lugo also ended up giving him a favor. Collaboration between smart people must be pleasant. After confirming that everything is correct, the two shake hands. At this moment the bartender brings a glass of wine. "Gentlemen, why don't you try this glass of wine? This glass of wine is different from ordinary wine. It is served in a glass cup. The blue layers stacked up like quicksand are like curved wave marks. Only when you drink it into your mouth can you feel that it has turned into water. Flows into the throat. What's the name of this glass of wine?" "Fantasy." Nangong Luo's lips curved slightly. "Illusion, a strange name, interesting." Chal explained, "Illusion is a new drink invented by the most famous bartender here. After one drink, maybe you will be more awake, or maybe you will be confused. It's just a glass of wine, is it really that magical? Mr. Nangong, how about we try it together?" Chair stood up and made a "you can choose" gesture to indicate to Nangong Luo to make a choice. He took the cup on the right based on the nearest principle, while Mr. Charles picked up the remaining cup and drank it in one gulp. Char and Nangong Luo faced each other, seemingly waiting to see how the other would react. It didn't take long for Char to take action. He began to move his hands up and down on the woman next to him. Those scenes were difficult to watch. Nangong Luo frowned displeased. He raised his eyes and saw that the bartender just now was standing in front of the bartender, with an unchanging smile on his face that made it difficult to tell the real thing from the fake one. The bartender bent slightly and said, "Mr. Nangong, there is no doubt that Mr. Char has a drunken attack. Char's desires begin to be revealed here." Looking at Nangong Luo, he looked calm and not at all intoxicated. "Bartender, Mr. Nangong, it seems that the things here do not arouse your desire." "Absurd." Nangong Luo sneered, stood up and walked out. But the moment he opened the door, he saw an unexpected person. "Luo. I really found you." Nangong Luo's desire, what is it? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1068. Chapter 1068 Li Yulai, let me be selfish for once. Lu Li. Nangong Luo never expected that Gongqin Li would suddenly appear in front of him. Gongqin Li had just arrived by plane. She learned Nangong Luo's address from Nangong Luo's assistant and went straight here, finally meeting the person she missed. Suddenly, his eyes flickered. Nangong Luo blinked. All he could think of was Gongqin Li's appearance and voice. The bartender standing in front of the bartender looked slightly sideways. His face still had an unchanged expression, but he opened his mouth slightly and silently said a few words, "Look, desire." Within 12 hours after drinking that cup of illusion, if there is no desire, then everything will be fine. If desire arises, then. Cheer walked over in a hug, and his unexplained gaze suddenly fell on Gongqin Li's beautiful face, and the amazement in his eyes was undisguised. "Who is this?" Nangong Luo narrowed his eyes slightly, put his arm around Gongqin Li's waist and pulled her close to him, pressing her head against his chest to declare his ownership. "Mr. Charles, you are drunk." His eyes pointed to the girl next to Charles, who followed him to the other side. At this moment, Gongqin Li raised her head from his arms, with a light blush on her face. She just shouted in a normal way, and that sound and smile fell into Nangong Luo's memory. He suddenly couldn't bear to let the person go. In this luxuriant place, it's like indulging one's desires. At this moment, the bartender came over and gestured to Nangong Luo to the room next to him. "Mr. Nangong, next to it is the lounge we have prepared for our distinguished guests. Those who are able to come here and spend money will certainly be satisfied with their attentive service." The bartender led them to open the door, and Nangong Luo took Gongqin Li in his arms and followed him in. The bartender left wisely. Only when the two of them were alone did Gongqin Li look at him seriously. She discovered that Nangong Luo had only been here for a few days, and he had lost a lot of weight. However, this did not detract from his handsome appearance, but gave him a different kind of masculinity. Lugo, you've lost a lot of weight, are you tired? She was a little worried and unconsciously reached out to touch Nangong Lugo's face. But she didn't know that her actions at this moment were causing trouble. In the eyes of Nangong Lugo, who was burning with desire, every move she made was so alluring. Li. In this quiet and uneven atmosphere, Nangong Lugo moved her thin lips slightly and called out her name clearly. Li, Li. The two simple words were pronounced by him as if they were mixed with a lot of honey. Ah! Just when Gong Qinli raised her head in response, the man who was taller than her suddenly lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. He said, "My desire is actually you." That shallow voice drifted past her ears. Before Gong Qinli could understand the words, she was already held tightly in Nangong Lugo's arms, and kissed one after another. Lugo, Lugo, what are you doing? Gong Qinli felt uncomfortable with the strange feeling. She had learned martial arts for many years and reflexively took precautions. Nangong Lugo had never done anything to her before, so she had forgotten that Nangong Lugo was not a rich kid who just had to eat soft food. With just a few moves, Gong Qinli was completely defeated by him. Nangong Lugo smiled and hugged her and refused to let go. Li, let me be selfish just once, okay? Let him have a sweet dream in this false illusion. His feelings are so humble. Good show. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1069. Chapter 1069 Intrusive Kiss. He hugged her so tightly that Gong Qinli couldn't break free from his embrace, so she simply gave up. Lugo, you, what do you want to do? The man looked into her seductive eyes with a smile, his lips opened and closed. You. If he heard this sentence in normal times, Gong Qinli would have to give him a hard kick to wake him up. Nangong Lugo, you actually dares to tease me. You are still the same as before. He has a free and easy personality and is unconstrained. He can say what he wants boldly and do what he wants to do. Unlike him, who used to let his heart sink for her, but later had to give up, but still couldn't forget her. Even if you hallucinate, you will see her. Nangong Lugo's hands relaxed slightly, and Gong Qinli took the opportunity to escape. But it wasn't that she ran away, but that she thought Nangong Lugo had just teased her deliberately. She sat generously on the edge of the bed, leaned back and lay down. Oh, I'm so tired from coming here just now. I have to rush back early tomorrow. There are so many things going on in the police station recently, and I can't ask for leave at will. Why can't I think of coming over? My head might have been caught in the door. As he spoke, he began to curse himself. With his eyes narrowed, he lay on the bed and wanted to take a rest, but he just missed the growing desire in Nangong Lugo's eyes. He is no longer sober, he only sees the person he likes, and he still wants to get close to her. Listening to her endless chatter, the content did not enter his mind, but the voice did not dare to touch his heart. He pressed his head with one hand, trying to wake himself up. Gong Qinli suddenly thought of something, opened her eyes and sat up. By the way, I told Grandpa to come see you, but he is still waiting. No, it's too late now, it will disturb Grandpa's rest. The two sentences were said by herself one after the other. Gong Qinli grabbed Nangong Lugo's hand, pulled him to sit beside the bed, and then pointed the front camera of his phone at the two of them. Nangong Lugo seemed to have no intention of moving her, sitting there a little far away. Gong Qinli approached him unprepared, held his arm so intimately, smiled at the camera, and took several photos in a row. Now you can give me an assignment for Grandpa. She saved the photo and suddenly turned around to face Nangong Lugo, reaching out and pinching Nangong Lugo's cheek. The action was very funny. Gongkin Li took the opportunity to press the time button to take continuous photos. At the moment she was holding up the phone, Nangong Luo suddenly grabbed her hand, and the funny action turned into a kiss. Different from the previous contact, this extremely intrusive kiss deepened between the lips and teeth, occupying the territory. Just right, I took the last picture. Boom dash. Gongkin Li's cell phone fell to the floor. Let go, let me go. She kept reaching out and beating her because the atmosphere at the scene made her feel uneasy and frightened. Her resistance also aroused the deep feelings in Nangong Luo's heart. He loved that woman deeply and was willing to hold her in his heart, but she refused to lower her head and look at him. Lu Li, I like you, I really like you. I carefully hide my love and guard you for many years. Why do you never want to look at me? The sudden confession made Gongkin Li lose her guard. She has never seen such an unusual side of Nangong Luo, like a humble prayer. He felt unwilling and uneasy in his heart, but more of a cautious love. But she wanted to tell him, no, Luo. You are never wishful thinking. Oh, stroller. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1070. Chapter 1070 One Night Stand. One night stand. The soreness all over her body clearly told Gongkin Li that she and Nangong Luo slept together. OMG. With a slap on the face, she didn't even have the courage to face this ridiculous night. She was just woken up by the alarm on her cell phone. She was so angry that she wanted to press the button irritably. When she saw the word airport on the screen, she had to wake herself up. The consequence of waking up is that she must recognize the reality, the fact that she and Nangong Luo had sex. She had just figured out who the person she really cared about was, thinking about falling in love and slowly accepting the identity transformation process from friend to lover, but she didn't expect that they skipped that step. Even though she is usually very courageous in doing things, even fighting outside and knocking down a few people without panic, but now, her hands shaking the quilt are really. She has to leave anyway, or else she should run away first. Let her calm down and see how Nangong Luo will solve the matter after waking up. Gongkin Li took the time to tidy up her tired body and counted the time to go to the airport. Gongkin Li opened the door and found that the bartender who had let them in was standing outside the original private room, as if waiting. Gongkin Li walked over and gave some instructions, find someone to tidy up the room and don't disturb him. Okay, miss. By the way, we can only let men go in and clean up. Miss, please don't worry, we strictly follow the guest's instructions here. Gongkin Li is not an employee here, so she must be here as a guest. Those who can come in as guests must also be women with a background. As a server here, he must of course follow the guest's arrangements. Gongkin Li got on the plane back to City S feeling anxious. As for Nangong Luo, he was indeed confused by that cup of illusion for a full 12 hours. It was just that once the effects of the alcohol wore off, he had almost no memory of what he had done after drinking last night. I still saw the bartender when I went out. The bartender's expression seemed to be fixed on a smile, and it didn't change all night long. Mr. Nangong, how does that glass of wine taste? Why don't I remember what happened next? That's because, sir, you see your own desires. Bewitched by desire, so one no longer has a clear mind and deep memory. Nangong Luo narrowed his eyes slightly. His desires. That girl with a gorgeous face, the soft and fragrant jade, the warm intimacy. Turns out that was his desire. Pressed his head and sighed inwardly. If the girl in the fantasy world knew that he had such evil desires in his heart, I would probably have to be angry with him for a long time. He really didn't dare to think about it anymore. He didn't allow himself to have such evil thoughts when he was awake. Where's Char? Mr. Charles is still resting in his room. Okay, let him come to me when he wakes up. Nangong Lo simply left here decisively. Because of this place and that strange glass of wine, he wanted to escape. A place that is full of luxury and glamour is indeed the most seductive. No matter where you are, you cannot escape the control of desire. Nangong Lo did not stay in Hong Kong too long. After signing the contract with Char, he arranged the finishing work and completed Mrs. Nangong's instructions to return home ahead of schedule the day after signing the contract. Upon hearing the news, Gong Kin Lee's heart beat violently. Kak, this is the expression she has. Kak, Chinese Valentine's Day has this expression. End of this chapter.